welcome you guys. You have tuned in to Sister's Heart, where we stream live on IntellectualRadio.com via iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Kim, and I'm sitting here with a special guest, a man who truly has been instrumental in my life. And let me have him introduce himself.
Hi, Kim. Glad to be with you. My name is Robert Holiday.
Absolutely. We have Robert Holiday, the apostle, in the house. So I am excited about today's show. You guys, we're going to have a segment called Can We Talk? We're going to be talking about some things concerning our relationships, concerning the church, concerning the state of our nation. And I really believe that Mr. Holiday, Pastor Holiday, is qualified to talk about these things. He is a God-fearing man. He's a husband. He's a father. I can go on and on and on. But listen, you know how we do. We're going to take ourselves a quick break. It's only going to be about 30 seconds. Allow ourselves to get geared up and ready, and we'll be right back, okay? Thanks again. This is Sister's Heart, where we stream live on IntellectualRadio.com via iHeartRadio. I am your host, Kim, and I'm sitting here today with Apostle Robert Holiday. Be right back. All right. Welcome back once again. You have tuned in live to Sister's Heart, where we stream live on IntellectualRadio.com via iHeartRadio, as well as Facebook Live. As some of you guys know that follow, I have been off for a while, but you know what? It's okay, and I'm okay, and I'm doing better. And to God be the glory for all that He's doing, right? Because we know that all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. So once again, I'm your host, Lady Kim, and I'm sitting here with a dynamic man who has a wonderful ministry, a wonderful wife, just a wonderful family, and his name is Robert Holiday, the Apostle Robert Holiday. I'm going to pause for a second and allow for him to tell us about himself, okay? So tell us a little bit about yourself, Pastor.
Well, we've been in ministry now for 17 years. I'm privileged to be married to Patricia Holiday, my wife of 31 years, still calling my bride. We've been blessed to raise 3 lovely daughters scattered throughout the country. One of them still here, a few grandchildren along the way. And we are pastoring on the west side of Chicago, if I can just throw a shameless plug in, at Ruach Worship Ministries, 5849 West North Avenue, on Sundays and Tuesdays. And you can always find me on Facebook.
Absolutely. Now, let me just say a couple of things, okay? One thing, I'm going to kind of go back. What's the name of your ministry again?
Ruach.
Ruach. Now, that's a different name, and for people who don't understand it, because sometimes we don't. Right. And I mean, me personally, I love words. I love to, if I don't know the word, I love to go out and I love to research it. But just for the layman, can you just break that down for people so they understand what that word means?
Yes, Ruach really means the breath of God, and where God gave that to me. When we first started out in ministry, our ministry name was Faith Deliverance Temple. Me, at one point in my life, I decided that things wasn't going the way that I wanted them to go, and I tried to quit the pastorage. And I went away to a conference in Youngstown, Ohio, and I literally had 3 people that I didn't know at all come up to me and tell me what God say I'm supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. And in that conference, God gave me the name Ruach, because He told me I am going to breathe life back into you and back into the ministry. And so over the course of a couple years, we changed the name of the ministry officially as to what God would have it to be. And so now we're Ruach Worship Ministry. And so besides doing that, we are now moved into a position where we cover other ministries, cover other leaders, not traditional organization or anything, but what we offer a covering for senior leadership and also do leadership training and adjutant training.
Absolutely. That's amazing. And, and I love the name, to be honest with you. When I looked it up, as far as, God breathing his life on us. And we always want a freshing. We want a refresher. And part of that, it starts with the breath of God. So thank you for, bringing us up to speed with that. And like you said, you have your lovely wife, Patricia, 31 years.
Yes.
And now I'm going to give a little background. Okay, you guys. So, Robert Holiday, Pastor Holiday, actually gave myself and my god sister Tanetta our first real paying job where we actually had a paycheck. And we're talking about years ago, maybe 30 years ago, right? Maybe 30 years ago.
You were about 16 or 17.
I was getting ready to turn 16, so I was of age where I can start working. And we're not gonna plug the place, but had our first little job. And actually, Robert taught us also how to drive. So we're not gonna talk about those stories, driving that Ford Escort. But nevertheless, God is good, and here we are coming full circle with regards to who God places in your life. And he places people in your life for a reason. So I'm so glad to have found you and your brother on Facebook, Jeffrey. We're gonna give you a plug as well, to find him and his brother on Facebook, and to see that God is using you and your wife in the ministry, because that's so important. And when you think of relationships, so often in churches we think, especially women, we do this: if I can just find someone in church, that everything is going to be okay, and we'll have this wonderful relationship, when in all actuality you can be in the church and be unequally yoked.
Definitely.
Absolutely. So that's going to take us to our first part that I want you to talk about with regards to relationships. And what is truly the model when we think of relationships as believers?
Well, I dealt with this over the summer, and I dealt with relationship from a multifaceted position. Now we're going to deal with it between a man and a woman. We must always have in mind that, I know we talk correctly, that the woman is the rib of the man, but anyone who comes into a relationship and trying to become a couple, you must first be whole yourself, because a saying that Patricia and we've coined, that two halves don't make a whole. If you're looking for someone to complete you from the aspect of, mentally, or that once I get this person in my life, then everything is going to be all right, you're going to fail in the relationship, because if you can't have self-love, you'll never be able to love anyone truly. Because if we're to become one flesh, but if you have self-hatred towards yourself and have not dealt with the issues of who you are and what your past has been, then you're always bringing damage to the relationship that you're going to develop with that person. And if we bring children into the equation, now we're also teaching our children to work from a place of pain, a place of being damaged. And so we have a lot of people in church, because we're not supposed to fornicate, we're not supposed to do this and do that, and we feel like, now if I just get that one person, and I got my Boaz, and and I found my Ruth, or whichever Bible character you want to use, we feel like now I'm going to be whole and complete, but yet we still have a deficit in our own lives.
And and I say that, and I'm, you said something so key too, because we find ourselves damaged, and a lot of times we don't even know that we're damaged. We think that, okay, I'm okay. I went in the gym, I've lost some weight. I'm exercising more, just whatever we do to try to make ourselves feel better. But in all actuality, we haven't properly allowed ourselves to be healed. And I like to use the example of when you break your leg, for example, and the doctor put you in the cast, and you stay in there for about 6 weeks, and then they go in to see if it's healed properly. And if it hasn't healed properly, what they do is they break it again.
Correct.
Because it hasn't healed properly. And so often we don't allow ourselves that time to heal properly. Oh my God, we think, and we say this, right? Because we remember we talked about being real on today.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we say to women, girl, the best way to get over them is to get under someone else. And that's not true at all. All you're really doing is, again, bringing your baggage from that one situation into another situation. Right. So I'm so glad that you said that, in terms of just being damaged in itself. What would you say? Because you've been married for a long time. How long did you guys date before you actually got married?
It's funny, we were talking about that the other day, because as you know, my dad just passed, and my parents met on June 3rd and got married on August 4th, and of the same year. And so Patricia and I, we're counting up, and I think we came to the conclusion that it was a little in totality over 14 months, I think, something like that. I might have the number totally wrong, but it was somewhere between 10 to 14 months. And being so young as we were, and I can say this without no fear of reprisal, because we were 21 at 20 when we got married. She had just turned 20, and at that point in our life, neither one of us had business being married because we were not mature enough and we didn't know ourselves well enough. Fortunately, through the love and the grace of God, we've survived and we love each other passionately, and we also like each other. But we had to work through those issues of not only the process of maturation together, but also our own selves. I think one of the things we do in church that's a disservice is that we have this placebo effect that, we shout about it, we speak in tongues, we levitate around the room, we do backflips, and we feel good because we had this euphoric feeling. But we have never ever dealt with ourselves, forget the spiritual side, even from the intellectual side. And we don't allow ourselves, as we've gone through processes, to grieve. Like you and I both just have suffered a similar loss. So we're probably at the same stages of grief. But if we're intelligent enough, we're going to go through the process so that we can become whole and be able to help someone else down the road. You so wisely said that we are taught, get up under somebody else, like, hey, it's another bus every 15 minutes. But you haven't gotten over the damage of the last thing that you were in, and you're looking to have somebody else fix you. Unless it's a psychiatrist or a psychologist, that person is not going to be able to fix you because they're bringing a set of circumstances into the relationship themselves. So, that, I guess that's a long answer to what you to what you asked.
But it's a good answer, and I'll give you a synopsis. The process, take your time and be whole. Be whole before you go into another situation. And what I really love in terms of kudos to your dad, because yes, condolences to you and your family on loss of your father. 5 days after I lost my father,
Yes.
so to get that news, definitely was devastating. But your parents, who were married for 54 years, you guys, and they only dated for 2 months. And I heard the stories that, dad met mom, he met Yvonne, he was smitten, and truly, I don't think it's about being smitten, but I just really believe that, God has a rib for every man. I believe that because he said it in his word that it is not good for man to live alone or to be
Right.
alone. If he said that, then God meant it, right? From Genesis to Revelation. So I just believe that, when you find the right one, you yourself has to be whole, right? Because y'all broken and messed up. You're just going to cause damage to another situation, to another person. And that's not where you want to be. But listen, you guys, we're going to take ourselves a really quick break, probably like 60 seconds. And we will be right back. Once again, you have tuned in live to Sister's Heart, where we stream live on IntellectualRadio.com. I'm your host, Kim, and we also do Facebook Live. And I'm sitting here with the man of God, just an awesome, dynamic man. And you are?
Robert Holiday.
Robert Holiday. We'll be right back, you guys. Robert Holiday. again, you have tuned in live to Sisters Heart, where we stream live on IntellectualRadio.com via iHeartRadio as well as Facebook Live. And I am your host, Kim, and I'm sitting here with my guest, Robert Holiday, and we are just having a Can We Talk conversation. We're going to keep it real today. We're talking about relationships. We're going to talk about the church. We're going to talk about our nation as a whole. We're 10 days away from the election. We're going to make history.
Yes.
One way or the other, all right? And I'm praying to God that I need to keep on my glasses so when that glass ceiling is broken, Hillary Clinton just bounce on in there, All right, I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. All right, but listen, this is one of the things that when we text back, our feelings. And why do we fake them? Why do we fake our feelings in the church? And we do this. I've done it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I've done it. If I can tell you some of the things that I did when I was younger in the church, I was caught up a lot in my emotions. And we lead with our emotions, and a lot of that's religion. And I had to come to grips with the fact that God is a spirit. And they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. It's okay to have that emotional side of us because that's who we are as people, but you can't lead with the emotional side when you think about the things at church. So talk to me a little bit about that and how God put that on your heart as far as, why do we fake our feelings when it comes to church?
Think about the language we use. How are you? I'm blessed and highly favored. How are you? I'm too blessed to be stressed. And all these fake things. And when is it acceptable that we can have such a relationship that I can say, I'm not doing good today, but you don't hold me hostage at that place?
Yes.
Because if we're truly covenant, then I can come to you and say, sis, I'm just not feeling it. I need you to hold me. I need you to carry me. But because we have all these fancy titles, like in our church, my wife was elevated to the office of apostle with me. But in my church, I tell you, I'll call her, Apostle Patricia. She's Patricia to me because that identifies more to me as a person than her and her apostolic title.
Absolutely.
And I believe that I should be able to tell you I'm hurting. I should be able to express to you that this is how I feel, because if we're really at the place of prayer, the house of prayer, then it doesn't mean that I don't have faith. It doesn't mean that that I'm going to hell. It just means that right now I'm at a low point, and can you carry me? I don't want us to create an atmosphere that after we shout, because now think about this. You're intellectual. Think about this. When we are in a euphoric state, we're releasing all these endorphins in our brain, and it makes us feel good. So we shout, we hoop. Look, I'm the captain of the hoop team. Okay, we shout, we bump, we run, and everything, and we feel good. But a lot of times it's the placebo effect, and we really haven't dealt with the issue of why I'm down. Why do I keep having this vicious cycle? Because I have not been made whole, but I'm afraid to tell you. And another reason I'm afraid to tell you is because you're going to prophesy and run your mouth about who and what I am. And so it kind of goes back to what we're talking about, even in the relational aspect, is that I can't trust you enough to tell you that I'm not feeling this. And if I can't trust you, then I never really build up the relationship that God will have us to have. We look at it so much just between a man and a woman, but what about the covenant between sister and brother?
That's good. That's good.
And so who can I trust to tell that, man, I ain't sinning, but I'm just not feeling myself. I'm not feeling the anointing the way that I should. I feel like I'm in a dark spot. Or don't let me tell you that today I feel depressed and I might even feel suicidal. Can I trust you with that? So we've taught people, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
But to paraphrase Shakespeare, he said, to thine own self be true. So why should I have to fake it till I make it? If you're going to be strengthened and have the strength to carry me, then I need to be able to be honest with you to tell you, this is what I need you to carry.
Absolutely. And even as you were saying that, Apostle, that's deep because, like you said, covenant. God is in covenant with us, and he wants us to be in covenant with one another by way of trusting.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right, especially in the church. Can I trust you with the fact that I'm going through and not have it preached over the pulpit? Can I trust you that I'm going through and not have you judge me? I remember when I was going through some things years ago, I remember the pastor told me, just pray. And I was sick of praying. Truth be told, I was sick of praying. I had prayed all that I knew how to pray, and I had prayed out. I had no more prayers left. And I really remember one young lady telling me to pray, and I'm just going to be honest with you, keeping it real. I wasn't really saved back then. I cursed her out. And I told her, I said, you pray. I'm tired of praying. You pray. I'm done praying. Just being real, because I was so outdone with regards to the level or the lack of assistance that I was getting with my truth. So guess what? I decided, stop trying to deal with the truth, fake it till you make it. And all I was doing was putting sheets, on or bandages on wounds that I wasn't able to talk about so I can get healed. And I had to be delivered from that. I had to be delivered from the fact that God wants my truth. When we think about David and we read the Psalms, David kept it real. Look, I'm a mess. David might as well said in practically all of it, I am a mess. But he knew God, and we have to move into that direction as a church. I wrote this. I was reading this one day, and we know the scripture says, "Acknowledge him in all thy ways," right? And that word "acknowledge," I like words, and I like to look at the meanings of words. And that word "acknowledge," one of the meanings means to agree. Acknowledge means to agree. So we can translate that to agree with God, right? Agree with God in all of your ways, and he will direct your paths. But you first have to agree with him. Well, what's the agreement? I need him.
Yes.
What's the first level of agreement? That I can't do nothing outside of myself without him. I have to agree with the fact that I do need him. And we have to move in that area. So how do we do that, Pastor? Because somebody's watching, somebody's listening. How do we get to the next level with regards to our covenant relationship, our promise that God has given us as believers to say, you know what? I need you to just be real with me, because I can heal you. It's like going to the doctor. How do you feel? Oh, I'm fine. Well, why are you here? How do we move to the next level with that?
One thing we need to do, and I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest version. We need to stop chasing after the next word and walk in the deliverance. We don't study enough. So we're looking for that, once again, that placebo effect is when we come to church and we really don't develop, one, the relationship with God. Secondly, a relationship with ourselves. And third, a covenant relationship with somebody. I say this about preachers, that every preacher needs, every pastor needs a priest and a therapist. But I believe every child of God needs a take it to the grave person. And I'm not talking about somebody you like, hey, man, I slept around with 6 people. I'm telling you, take it to the grave. No, but somebody that, hey, this is where I'm at intellectually. This is where I'm at physically. This is where I'm at in my spirit. I'm low in spirit. Can you pray with me? Can you covenant with me? Sometimes I just need you to listen to me. I don't need you to prophesy to me. I'm going to preach a message very soon that I'm not broke, so don't fix me, because I need to be able to tell you how I feel without you trying to give me a word for it. No one has greater faith for my situation than I do. But I need you to be able to agree with me and to be able to carry me. And so once we really develop a true covenant relationship, no matter what you tell me, if it's not going to do detriment to your body, mind, soul, or spirit, I can carry you and I won't reveal it to anybody else. Because to be just bubbly you all the time, that's deceit. Right. No one is there all the time. But because we have not identified, and you know what I think, but one of the main problems with that is, though, is that because we connect and we have a couple of things in common, I start telling you too much too soon. And you might have told the wrong person too much too soon if you give them all your power.
Hold that thought. I like that, you guys. Telling folks too much too soon. You talk too much. You gotta learn how to pace yourself. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Learn how to pace yourself. We're going to take ourselves a really quick break, you guys. Once again, this is Sisters Heart, where we stream live on IntellectualRadio.com via iHeartRadio as well as Facebook Live. My name is Kim, and I'm your host, and I'm sitting here with Pastor Robert Holiday. We'll be right back, okay? That was good. That was good. Take it. You have tuned in live to Sisters Heart, where we stream live on IntellectualRadio.com as well as iHeartRadio and Facebook Live. I'm your host, Lady Kim, and I'm sitting here with a wonderful man of God, my brother, my God brother. Come on, introduce yourself.
Robert R. Holiday.
Robert R. Holiday. What's the R for?
Romante.
Romante. Who names their child Romante?
My daddy gave me that name.
Absolutely, Romante. But anyway, you guys.
Romante is romantic.
Exactly. But come on. See, that's why you don't pass the court and stuff after 31 years. You got to love it. You got to love it. Absolutely. But hey, listen. You're making it work, and you, like you said, that's still your bride. Mm-hmm. And guess what? That's what the Bible calls her. Mm-hmm. She's your bride. That is your bride. Hello, somebody.
Yeah.
And so often we get married, and 2 days later we forget that woman that you married is your bride, and you're supposed to love her and keep her just as such. So God bless you for that.
Thank you.
And definitely set an example for your daughters. And I know you set a lot of good examples for myself, and tonight we'll talk about that as we go on down to the end with regards to just some stuff that we used to do, and some rough patches, that Robert has actually dug me out of. Amen. But now what I want to do, because we talked about a lot, and that was some really powerful stuff that you said, some awesome stuff, definitely some meat, you guys, that you can take and you can eat off of it. And definitely go back and watch the show, because I know that we're moving kind of quickly just for the sake of time, but you can always revisit the show because there's some good things being said. But now I want to talk about, the church, right? Because we were talking about just in terms of our covenants with our friends, as well as with the church. Don't fake it till you make it, you guys. You got to keep it real. You got to keep it 100 at all times, because God, He's promised He's a healer, and He will send you help, but you have to first be honest. And it's in your truth that you are set free, right?
Yes.
It's not in your lie. It's not in your lie. It's in your truth. And in that truth, with you being honest with where you're at as a person, it's not going to somebody else. It's not getting up under somebody else. It's not going to another relationship. It is truly you dealing with you dealing with your heart. I remember when I started this show, it was really focused on women. Let me tell you that it was focused on women, hence the title, Sister's Heart. But the goal was for women's hearts to be healed. That's what it was. You know, we often talk about, well, men need to man up. They need to man up. Well, women, we need to woman up first. I really believe it, and it'll take God to change my mind on it. If we don't set a standard, then what is the standard for men to walk therein? If we don't set the standard, because if my husband, hello, can leave me and still be married to me and be with you, there's the standard is missing there. No,
Right,
woman,
right.
we have to understand the dynamics of our role, especially being the rib. And if you, I love the study of in words. There's 3 levels of ribs, you guys. There's 3 levels. I'm not going to talk about that because we're going to move on. But there's 3 levels. When you have a chance, I want you to look it up. Okay, it's called a true rib, it's called a false rib, and it's called a floating rib. Okay, I want you to study it because I promise you, you'll see yourself in those categories: a true rib, a false rib, and then a floating rib. Okay, and when you identify who you are, make your necessary changes. If you're a true rib, then keep doing what you're doing, woman. But if you're not, then truly change what you are doing, because we have to set a standard as women for men to first have a standard. What women glorifies a man wearing a skirt? I'm sorry, who does that? Why would a woman date a man who has sagging pants? Who does that? I mean, come on, ladies. We have to set the standard. That's not cute. It's not attractive. But I digress. So back to what we were saying, though.
You were great.
I get on the road, you guys. Okay, but what will it take though for the church to maintain or become relevant? Because there are some churches that are doing wonderful work. So I'm not going to take anything away from the pastors. Okay, they're doing wonderful work. But then you have churches that are just struggling, and then you have churches that are seemingly doing well, but there's no deliverance or power there. All right. And we're not pointing out anything, but what will it take, Pastor? I believe that I can ask you this question and believe in my heart that you can give me an answer that's truly, that's going to be based out of what God is giving you.
That's a great question. And it's one that I've pondered because, and I would be disingenuous not to be transparent. We've struggled. And we struggled for various reasons, various issues. And as Teddy Roosevelt said, the buck stops here. So I would take responsibility for struggle, whether I was directly involved or, not directly involved. But what we must do is that we must be honest. We have, I've been in church 36 years now. And that's probably that's over 2/3 of your life. And I've seen I've seen the generation, my children's generation, where there's no one wants to be accountable for anything. They say they want truth, but they don't want real truth. I love the phrase that you use. You said my truth. And when you were using it, I was looking at it as that your truth lining up with the truth of God. But we have so many people being disingenuous about what it is they want. People want God on their terms versus what God is really calling for. And so we have this diversity in the church, and diversity is good in its proper perspective. But when we start bringing the atmosphere of the world into the church, it really devalues what real church is. And so are we coming for a gathering, or are we coming for where the power and deliverance of God is? Are we attached to a place because of name recognition? And listen, I want name recognition because none of us don't want to be successful in what it is that we're doing. But we also must remain honest to the commitment and to what it is that God has called us to. And so I've seen people who, let's say we went to the Bulls game, and Dwayne Wade, he did a slam dunk at the buzzer and he won the game. You'll jump off your seat and cheer. Then when we get in church, we don't have that same excitement, that same enthusiasm. We become shy. We become, I can't tell about this, but we were so bold about what it is that what we used to do. And so we're not even spiritually honest, and we're not even intellectually honest. And then we also have one thing, it's a pet peeve of mine now with the social media, is that we have so many preachers beating up other preachers. So why would I want to come to where you say it's no good? We kill each other from the inside. If we can stop that, and if we can come together as a cohesive unit and body, then we can really come to the forefront, I believe, that scripture has demanded that we are. But I think we have made ourselves irrelevant.
That is heavy. My God, that is heavy. And you are right on point. And man, I'm telling you, I see it as well. Like you said, especially with regards to social media, where ministries are beating up other ministries and they're judging one another, and who's right and who's wrong and what they don't do and what they do. And you're absolutely right. As a body collectively, if I'm sitting there and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do regarding my level of truth, and this is what's going on, it's so hard, for a believer to even get free, because of the fact that this is what's going on with regards to my church as a whole. And that's a sad situation. You think about the scripture where it's just one Lord, it's one faith and it's one baptism. It's like, how do we even get there as a church? How did that? And I'm not saying you have the answer for this, but just give me your thoughts and your opinions. How do we even get that way?
Competition.
Wow.
It's they used to tell us that, I'm not from the South, so but they used to tell us that you don't have to put a lid on a barrel of crawfish, because once see another one escaping, they'll pull the other one down. And so it becomes systemic that I have to dog you out in order to get ahead. I teach the elders in our church that we go somewhere, and I teach the church, as I should say, as a whole, because somebody does something different and we don't do it that way. It's just different. It don't mean what we're doing is better. It fits for our house, but I don't have to dog you or another ministry to try to make myself better. And here's the thing. We all need seasoned people, but I need to concentrate more on saving souls than membership transfer.
That's right. That's right.
Because if I'm just transferring membership, okay, I increase my my census by 10 people, but if 9 of them came from someplace else, and then the one that got saved is in and out, have I effectively done what it is that we're called to do, to be light to the world? So I'm not going to dog the Karen Bruno Little ministry to build up the Robert R. Holiday ministry. 31 flavors in the store, right? Absolutely. Ice cream store.
Ice cream stores. There's 31 flavors, and you're absolutely right. And I agree with you in terms of how we've gotten off with regards to even being relevant and maintaining that level of relevancy, because there's so much competition. There's so much. And man, we use that at work, the crabs in the barrel. We use that. Like, can't we all just make it? Don't try to hinder me because I want to make it, and I agree with you. If all it is about building up your membership from transference, then you're really not doing the work. Oh my God. We're not doing the work. If that's all it is about, attracting someone else's members, and people can go wherever they want to go. I believe that, but the work is so outside of the 4 walls. We were called to go out and to compel people to come in, and who are we trying to compel? I heard a pastor say this, what's better than going to heaven?
What is?
It's what's better than going to heaven is bringing someone with you.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. Gotcha. That's what's better than going, because yes, you can go, but what about bringing someone with you? And bringing someone with you does not mean you go get another believer. Hello, somebody, but it means you go find someone that was lost, just like you, because we all have been lost, Yes. And there lies the relevance. The relevance is not just about us competing with each other as a church, as a body, but truly going out and making that case, presenting that case in an effective manner. Because I really believe that you can't tell me how to come out if you've never been in.
Right.
Hence the relevancy. I know that, and we see this sometimes because churches, holiness is right. Don't get me wrong, you guys. I love the word holiness is right, but sometimes we put on such a persona inside of the house of holiness that we forget that we were once a wretch undone. So when people do come in that are looking, they're seeking after the things of God, immediately, we put up a wall because they don't look the same way. They don't dress the same way. So we rather, like you said, go get, your member, because your member's been trained, your member's been seasoned. Bring them over here and let them, plant themselves here, as opposed to going to get that person who is unseasoned, who knows nothing. You understand, with regards to the things of God. They just know that they're hungry and that they're thirsty. So look, you guys, we're gonna take ourselves another quick break. We're gonna be right back. I love that point, Pastor. I promise you, accountability as well. So this is Sister's Heart, where we stream live on IntellectualRadio.com. I really do hope that you guys are getting something out of this. We will be right back. I'm your host, Lady Kim, and this is Pastor Holiday sitting here with me. And about 30 seconds.
Auntie.
Hey, Auntie. Where we stream live on IntellectualRadio.com. I am your host, Lady Kim. I am sitting here with my wonderful guest, Pastor Robert Holiday. And I'm telling you guys, I'm just having myself a good time. It is so good to be back. I think it was 2 weeks, maybe even 3. I know I had gotten cold at one point in time, but it's just really, really good to be back and to be sitting in this chair, to be joining up with Earl again. And listen, you guys, we are winding down to the end of our show. Got a couple more questions for the pastor that I want to get in. And now I want to kind of shift the conversation. We've talked about relationships. We've talked about the church, and those kind of work together because covenant is God's language. That's his word, you guys. So you really can't be in covenant or relationship with people and not really be in relationship with God. I just don't. If you tell me that you have a relationship with God and you don't like people, I'm suspect. I'm looking at you side-eyed and twisted, because you cannot love God and not love people. It doesn't work that way. God doesn't work that way. He's not impressed. He's not impressed with you. True. He's not even impressed with your relationship. So those kind of go hand in hand. But now what I want to do is I want to ask you, because I know you're like me, right? We watch that MSNBC, right? That's unfortunately we do. Yes, we do. Okay, I'd like to follow what's going on in our country. So talk to me a little bit about just the state of our nation and what do you see?
I'm actually saddened by what is going on now. I feel like we have one candidate who's immensely qualified, but unfortunately, there's a aura around her. Some of it self-inflicted, some of it is because of people not liking her husband, who in my mind was a great president, forget his moral failings. I'm not asking a politician to be my pastor. Uh, that is immensely qualified, greatly qualified, but struggles with transparency. Then on the other side, we have a misogynistic, uh, and for me, for Robert, uh, racist, um, political buffoon who I believe doesn't even want to be president running. And he speaks to the very fears of a segment of population. I wouldn't dare say that, let's just call it what it is. I wouldn't say that all male whites who are for him, because he's really speaking their language, are racist. I wouldn't do that at all. But I think a lot of them don't understand white privilege. And so he's speaking to them, telling them that your privilege is about to be stripped away if you put this even more liberal lady in who is going to precede this. And I think the man we have in the White House now is more of a moderate, more in the central. And she's going to strip away even more so. And so that fear of that first, this woman who intimidates them because she's the equal of anyone intellectually. And so he's speaking to the very core and the base of people who still want to be on top, who don't want to share the greatness of this country. And once again, I'll speak for me. One of the greatest misnomers to me is that this is or was a Christian country. I don't believe it was built among Christianity. We took some tenets of the Bible, but any time that you can put in the Bible of this country, the Constitution, that we say in one spot all men created equal, but these people are only 3/5 of something. That's not walking under the banner of Christianity. And so we are headed down a slope that is so slippery that is scary. I really believe that no matter who wins, that we're going to have something in this country where races are going to come against one another. I sit in fear for my 5-year-old grandson, and I have a biracial granddaughter who'll be 2 in January. I fear for her. My oldest granddaughter, not so much, because she's going to be a black woman, and there's a certain thing about just being black. But for my grandson and where we're at, I fear for him. My biracial granddaughter, I fear for her because the nastiness of what's in the hearts of people has come to the forefront. And I hope this doesn't offend anybody, and maybe I hope it does, even our evangelical brethren who want to equate God in this. I say this, I don't agree with everything that Secretary Clinton does. I don't agree with all her views or whatever, but I definitely think she's the most qualified candidate. Do I believe that do I support abortion? No, I don't. But do I think it's the government's right to tell people? No, I don't. Do I support gay marriage? No, I don't. But I also believe that she's the most qualified candidate out of the two that we have left standing versus this man who's just as qualified to be than this can of coffee.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And I thank you for that. I thank you for the honesty of your answer, because truly we definitely have to make a decision. If you have not already voted, we have to make a decision.
Going tomorrow.
Absolutely. You have to go out, you have to vote, you have to take this serious. I'm with you. I have 2 sons. I have, African American sons, and I do fear for them in terms of what I see going on, because Donald Trump does play to the fears. He plays to the fears of people, and we can't allow our fear to dictate our decision and our choices, because first of all, God hasn't given us that spirit of fear. So we can't say, well, I don't trust Hillary. And I agree with you. I was listening to, again, one of the shows, and there was some pastors that were talking about forgiveness for Donald Trump, and for his shortcomings, and they were discussing forgiveness, but at the same time they weren't discussing forgiveness for Hillary Clinton and her shortcomings. So it was just really it was hard to see that, because his forgiveness is for all mankind.
Mm-hmm.
He's not selective. He doesn't work that way. So I didn't understand how as we as believers could even for 1 second think that was right on any day of the week and on any level. So listen, you guys, we're coming up to the end. How much time do I have, Earl? I have about 3 minutes. I want to thank everyone. Pastor, can you give us something in a minute and a half?
I certainly can.
Absolutely. I want you to share with us what God has put on your heart.
We've been in this series. We just came out of our conference. It was called Can You Dare to Dream Again? And the Bible speaks about, I believe it's in Genesis 39th chapter, where Joseph, even after he told his brothers his dream, and they, the whole story of it, those who read your Bible, but the Bible said Joseph dreamed again. And I believe we're in this season where God wants us to dream again. He wants us to, what he puts in our hearts and our spirit, to speak those things out. Don't keep them into yourself, because the dream that he has given you, you're going to become the manifested glory of God here in the earth. So out of all that you have gone through, your life is not a nightmare, but your life is a beautiful dream that God has designed. Write that vision down and let God bring it to pass.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. You guys, man, you were just speaking directly to me. Man, do not for 1 second stop dreaming. Dare to dream again. My pastor said this morning from Genesis 1:1, in the beginning. So really, you guys, you think it's an end, but God is calling that end a beginning. You are really just right there at your beginning, and part of that begins with your dreams. You have to see it. You have to want it. You have to go for it. So listen, you guys, this is going to bring our show to an end. I have truly enjoyed you, Robert Holiday, my pastor. He's not my pastor. I'm sorry, my friend. And I just appreciate you. Thank you, Patricia, for allowing us to have your husband. You guys, this is Sister's Heart, where we stream live on IntellectualRadio.com via iHeartRadio. It's so good to be back in the chair. Earl, thank you for putting up with me for so many weeks while I've been gone, and I just love the support. You guys, don't forget, I am still collecting hats and gloves for the homeless as well as the needy. And I know some people say, well, why are you asking for that stuff so soon? Guess what? While it may not be in your mind of how you're going to stay warm, it is on someone else's mind how they're going to stay warm. So please support the effort. I have a goal of 500 hats and 500 gloves. I'm not taking money. I'm just taking hats and gloves. If you have some coats, please give me those as well. And I promise you, it's going to go for a good cause. It's with my non-for-profit organization called A Mile in My Shoes. Until you walk a mile in someone else's shoes, you don't know their story, so don't even judge their praise. So once again, I'm Lady Kim. This is Sister's Heart, where we stream live on IntellectualRadio.com via iHeartRadio. You guys stay blessed, and I'll see you next time. God willing.